don't always know. So I rely very heavily on reviewers, but I do, first read the piece, and I'm looking primarily for style at that point, as I mentioned, because our journal is a bit unique in the kind of style that we publish. But I also see a lot of room for that style to emerge in revision. So often, if the style is very different from the kinds of things we publish, I might write to the author right away and say, this needs a major revision before I could send it out to reviewers. And, here's our journal guidelines. Here's the kind of things that I'm looking for. But if it's just a bit outside of the style that we publish, I'm assuming that after reviewers have seen it, either they or I can guide the author to revise it in terms of style and form, as well as content and theory and so on.
With the applied journal, because the field's about this big, I basically look at it in terms of, does it broadly fit under the rubric of applied anthropology? Does it have some application? Does it seek to solve a problem? Does it highlight some aspect of, I don't mean this as an insult, but the real world? So it's not necessarily theoretically driven, but more practical. So interestingly, I mean, most of the, traditionally most applied pieces are in the cultural realm, but I'm getting a whole bunch of stuff from forensic archaeologists who are, trying to identify, well, for instance, I've got one in review now, trying to understand migrants who die in the Arizona desert, Texas desert, trying to identify them, understand what happened to them. So, again, very, very applied.
Gosh, it's hard because it is a little bit of a magical combination. AE, American Ethnologist, specifically states in its aims and scope that we're looking for papers that show what the ethnographic imagination or ethnographic approach can do, and show its theoretical reach and its relevance to the contemporary world. And so what we're looking for is that kind of balance where the analysis of the ethnography, the close-in analysis of the ethnography also manages to open outward to offer a concept or a question or an insight or a sensibility or an approach that other anthropologists can take away and do something else with. And so sometimes we talk about that quality of having the theory and the ethnography as scaling up. I don't really like that spatial metaphor, because as anthropologists, we know that up and down are hierarchical and might depend on what your point of view or orientation in the world is. And so when we think about theory, we're not thinking so much about how many big names of European philosophy can you connect your work to, but it's how can you help other readers, other anthropologists, sort of conceptualize some kind of problematic. And when someone does that, when a paper does that, and it does it in a way that's fresh and innovative, and has the magic of a kind of writing or a kind of exposition that opens things outward, that kind of poses a puzzle and resolves it, that's when we know we've hit the sweet spot. Now, very few papers actually achieve that on the first go, or even with quite a positive revise and resubmit process. So part of what we do as editors is use the advice of peer reviewers and our own sense of the internal spark in the manuscript to help authors find, or to suggest for authors ways that they might be able to, scooch it up just a little bit to really sort of hit home. That's how we know. I mean, it is quite intuitive, although it's not as gatekeeping as many people imagine. As editors, we're not really looking to advance any particular style of anthropology with an agenda. We're really looking to find authors who have something to say that we can then help them say it in the best way possible for the climate of readership that we have now,